Welcome. This is Fling. We are making a millie. This is our Millie Maker preview GPP tournaments on Draftkings. Large field. That is what we are looking to take down. I got my boy Paul with me. Pawel, what's going on?
What's going on? Thanks for having me on. It's week 2.
Yeah,
Week 1 was great. Glad football's back. Ready for it. Let's do this.
no doubt about it. So, if you've been a subscriber on this channel for a little bit, this was actually the first show we did. So life got a little crazy. I started making content for DFS Army and just got really busy. And, there was just a lot of moving parts. So we couldn't bring everyone together, but we are bringing everyone back together. This is a show we're going to continue doing. It's going to be me, Paul, and my cousin Eric, if he can make it. He actually just moved to the Netherlands, so he's gonna be hopping in here and there when the schedule lines up. But me and Paul are gonna be breaking it down for you every week.
Yep. Moved across the world so you could get a 6-hour advantage.
Hitting that waiver wire before all of us.
Yep. Watching games at 2 a.m.
All right. So speaking of week 2, we're gonna look back real quick at week 1. Let's go, Paul, with the walk of shame. All right, I'll start first. Last week, this is a segment we like to do, like what went wrong for you the prior week. This could be personally, this could be in your season-long league, this could be on the DFS slate, some bonehead move you made, like eating all the chalk and it was bad chalk. Like you were a donkey for doing it. So for me, last week, I started Ricky Pearsall, who is on the pup list because he got shot. So I joined a lot of leagues. I was only in 3, and then I got suckered into doing more leagues. So I'm now in 6 leagues. And he was just a guy that I wasn't paying attention to. And I started him on the pup list. I went through like all the leagues. I was setting lineups. And then I was like, oh, crap. Afterwards, when I was going through and I lost by a fraction of a point, I was going through and I was like, oh, I got a 0 from Ricky Pearsall. Great. That's literally my fault that I lost this week.
Yep.
Paul, do you have any?
My biggest one was sitting Rashid Shaheed last week. Going into that game, I should have known. This week, when we're going against the Panthers, we're starting guys. I think this is going to be a season long thing. I think they just announced the odds of it's like 3,800 to 1 or something for them winning the Super Bowl. So if you bet $100 on them this year to win the Super Bowl, you're going to lose $100. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
So not making mistakes this week. Players going against the Panthers. We're going all in.
Yeah, no mistakes like that this week. And we're going to jump right into it. So the way we're going to do this show is we're going to start with looking at the Vegas line, seeing some games to target. Then we're going to hop into some of our top stacks that we like, some core plays that we like to build around. That's one of the things about the Millie Maker. People always think you need to go so off the board with every single pick. No, you don't. You have to have some plays that are really good plays. It's like you're hitting legs of a parlay, right? So like you really just want like 2 or 3 spots where you're getting different. The rest of your lineup should be good plays. So we're going to go into the core plays. Then we're going to give you some of those sleepers that are under 10% owned, some guys that you think the field isn't as high enough on as they should be. And then we are going to do a little bit of a dice roll. So that's kind of our format for this. We're going to look at the top 4 game environments we want to stack. We're going to roll the dice. Whatever number you get, you have to stack that game. So we're going to get a little silly for it and then build those lineups and get out of here. So let's hop into those Vegas lines. So you can see on the screen here, this is courtesy of DFS Army. These are the Vegas lines. These basically, and it's funny, I didn't know this. I was actually listening to DFS Army's founder, Geek, the other day. Kevin Allen, aka the Geek. So he was saying that he actually invented using the Vegas lines for DFS. He's like, why don't we just follow what Vegas thinks is going to be the best game for DFS? Like that's how long he's been like doing this. I just thought that was really crazy. But yeah, the Vegas lines. So the top game that's really standing out on the slate is Detroit going against Tampa. This is a 51-point game total here. And last year, when these two teams squared off in the playoffs, like it was a high scoring game. Detroit, they don't have a very good secondary, Paul. So this game, I think, could live up to the hype. It could be a shootout. Baker Mayfield is baking. He's fully back. Looks like a completely different guy. I guess all I had to do was leave the Cleveland Browns. Who knew?
Wow, that seems to work for a lot of guys. I believe the Bucs secondary is a little bit banged up this week too. So let's unleash the
pretty crazy. I know. So
let's do it.
This game could go back and forth. Has shootout potential. Detroit, they have the highest team total on the slate. So Jared Goff is a guy you can be looking to stack for sure. We're going to get into that here in our top stacks. The other game that's really standing out, a couple of them, we got Kansas City and Cincinnati. Now, when these teams have squared off in the past, it's always been a close game, but it has played to the under a lot. But, the Chiefs, they lost Ladarius Sneed in offseason, so I don't think their defense is as good as it was last year. So maybe this game will live up to the hype this time. They have a 27-point team total, so that's typically what you want to target in DFS. Teams with a high team total, their quarterbacks, their receivers, their running backs. So that's the second highest one on the slate. And then we got a couple that are really close. So we got a 47.5 with the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 1-point favorites. I got to tell you, this one, when I was running optimals for DFS Army and the domination station, which I'm going to do here in a little bit, which is exactly the tool that we're in right now, I was getting a lot of Rams in this game. So, spoiler alert, that might be some of the sleepers and the cores in this spot right here. And then we got two other games, Paul. We got San Francisco going on the road to play Minnesota. Now, Christian McCaffrey is on IR, so we are going to have Jordan Mason here. Probably a really cheap salary in the Shanahan system. I'm all about it. And then, the last game we have is Dallas at home with a high team total, 46.5 as well. Yep. So, I like the Dallas side. They seem to beast when they're at home. And I don't know. I'm not sold on Card being able to do it again. Card's been playing in the NFL for a long time. I think last week was probably going to be more of an outlier.
Yeah, it's a game against the Panthers. You're playing against the worst team in the league. He's not putting up 47 points every week.
No. And if Eric was here, which probably will be next week, he would be ripping on Derek Carr for sure because he's a Raiders fan. And, he was tortured by Derek Carr for a lot of years. I don't play him in DFS. I won't play Derek Carr in DFS. So it's worked for me so far, and I'm just going to continue to ride that. But, Paul, any just overall thoughts on the game environments? Anything that really stands out?
No, it's week 2. We have a lot of high scoring games. A lot of games. Vegas has over 45 points. I believe one of them over 50. It's week 2. Don't want to overreact after week 1. We definitely saw some big guys not score a lot of points, and let's go into this with a clean slate.
Definitely. Well, let's go ahead and hop right into these top stacks. So, Paul, who are you liking as some guys that you are looking to target this week for your stacks?
Well, the obvious ones, Amon-Ra, Stafford. That's going to be a high-scoring game. Hopefully it's a shootout. Amon-Ra was quiet week 1, but I don't think we're going to see that again in week 2. Like I said, not trying to base anything off of 1 week of football. Obviously, another one, Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
The first one, Goff, and second one, Cooper Kupp, Stafford. Another obvious one with Puka Nacua now going on IR. We have kind of an unknown as on wide receiver 2. He had a great game in the first week. We'll see how that pans out. And then, yeah, of course, the Cowboys, CD Lamb, Dak Prescott, a lot of money finally being thrown around. It took him a while to get him that money. As usual, what Cowboys do, wait till the last second and still give him the bag. So let's see if
they love to wait till the last minute and then overpay. That's their MO.
It's a stupid setup. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like that. One of the things I looked at is when I went back and I looked at a lot of the winners of the contest last year, and this is on Underdog Fantasy in some of their formats, whether it be best ball, whether it be the weekly winners, whether it be the battle royale on DraftKings, the Millie Maker, like a lot of contests. Dak to CeeDee Lamb was like a constant last year, and Ferguson. So I love Dak this week. In fact, looking at ownership, he's not getting a lot. He's getting like 5%. And I'm just like, I want to eat all that. Like I want Dak stacks because last year, one of the things we saw, and I think it could continue to this year because they don't really have any running backs, is they would just keep throwing when they were up big in games. So like you never worried about like a big spread. Like I remember the Giants, like they were like 10, 14-point favorites, and everyone was like, oh, they're going to get up big early, and then they're just going to run the ball. No, Dak just kept throwing to Lamb like the whole game. So I'm with you on that. I really like Dak this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird run game. We have kind of a committee game with not really like big names at that position. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I can see it. Let's earn those contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. The other game that I really like is Detroit and Tampa. Now, I'm on the Detroit side. I typically want to lean, just like there's some of the research we've done over at DFS Army, is like you want to target favored quarterbacks. Like if you're looking at a game that you want to target, you rarely want to be on the underdog side for that quarterback. Like you want to be on the favorite side. So like I like Goff this week. The problem with Goff is a lot of the times the touchdowns go to David Montgomery or they go to Jahmyr Gibbs. So like it's really hard for him to be in the winning lineup a lot of times because they pass and then they get down there and then it's David Montgomery who runs it in. So I wouldn't have a ton of him, but I think getting some Goff here because he does have maybe that 1 to 2 games a year where he does throw for 4 touchdowns. I think you could get there. I wouldn't be opposed to stacking him with Gibbs since he's a receiving back. So if Gibbs, has a big day, he takes a screen to the house. Like that's the kind of scenario I think where Goff would be in the winning lineup. I also like if you're stacking him, like Laporta is looking really low owned this week. So I think it's a pretty good matchup for Laporta, and you can get a really contrarian stack. That's overall pretty cheap. I mean, Goff is 6,400, and actually the stack overall is looking like about 10% ownership. So you can load up on the Jordan Masons who are going to be chalky. You can load up on the Cooper Kupps, and you get your stack, your contrarian stack. So last kind of like one more stack I want to look at here. For me, I would want to stack Patrick Mahomes in that other game. He's kind of a little chalky, but I think he has enough pass catchers that you can get different. You could stack him with Rice. You could stack him with Kelsey. You can stack him with Worthy. And I expect the other game, the Rams and the Cardinals game to be the chalkiest out of all of them. With Cooper Kupp and Demarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson, like Kyron Williams. I think that game's just going to be quite chalky. So I think if you go to the Kansas City side, there's a lot of worry there with Cincinnati, what they did last week, that they're not going to be able to keep pace. but I think that game could shoot out. So
Yeah,
I think I would lean the Mahomes side.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that you'd look at that game is Mahomes throws the ball everywhere. There
Yeah.
isn't really like a CD Dak connection. That's you're just feeding your guy there.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's a great offense. It's been a great offense. Unfortunately, as Broncos fans, we hate to see it, but
We've been at the receiving end of that offense for a while.
yeah.
I'm
I hate
here.
you, but
I'm
I
here.
respect you.
Yeah. He's here and he's not going anywhere. And
No,
it's not been fun. It's
no.
not been fun. But yeah, I totally agree with that. So let's go ahead and kind of hop into our cores. All right, Paul. So for me, when we look at cores, this is kind of what I was talking about. And, this is something that I've learned just studying Millie Maker lineups. This is something that, I write an article every week over at dfsarmy.com. In fact, kind of show you that article that I write. This is one of the articles that I write every week for dfsarmy.com is the Millie Maker review, studying past lineups. So we see what's working and what's not working. And obviously, how we can build our lineups. This is actually the first article that I wrote for DFS Army, Rapid Fire XD. He is a DFS Army subscriber. He won the Millie Maker that week using the nomination station, which we're going to go over here in a little bit. So, when I say that on the show, some of the things that we've learned from, studying past lineups, like I mean it. Like this guy won the Millie Maker by studying these past lineups and using the cheat sheets, the coach's notes, and the tools based on what we found out. So just keep that in mind when you're watching, because this stuff actually has been proven before in the past. But what I was getting into there, Paul, is we look at these cores actually. In fact, I guess I gotta share my screen again because I just lost it here. Okay, so that's gonna be a problem. So we're just gonna have to share the whole screen, which is fine. Not sure what's going on with StreamYard today. Okay, so we're gonna go to Paul. Can you tell me? Can we see this?
Yeah.
We see this on the screen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when we get into the cores, for example, these are guys that essentially, we think are going to be in the winning lineup because they're good plays. So these are guys that we're looking to build around. We're looking to get different with the rest of our build. And, we're going to play these guys because they're in a really good spot. So for me, one of those guys is Cooper Kupp. So this is a high game total. He projects really well. And one of the biggest things, if you look at Cooper Kupp's price and his projection here, he is a guy that projects really well, but also because he's underpriced. So this game happened on a Monday night. Puka Nacua got hurt, and Cooper Kupp gets into this slate this week at pricing that he had because they didn't think that Puka Nacua was going to be hurt. So really, he's underpriced, and that's the type of guy that I'm looking to target. What say you, Paul?
Yeah, that's a great pick. It's a Triple Crown guy. He's going to be getting fed right now. My biggest one right now, it's going to be going back to Dak and CD Lamb. It's a big home opener.
Yeah,
they just had a game against the Browns. We talked up that defense, and they carved that defense up. So I'm feeling good on that one.
Absolutely. I like that. So the other core that I would have this week is kind of the same thing. That game happens on a Monday night. You find out Monday night that Christian McCaffrey is no longer going to be playing that game, and it's going to be Jordan Mason. So people who don't know, DraftKings, they've already done their pricing for week 2. So we get Mason as a backup priced. He's priced as a backup, and he's filling in as a starter for Christian McCaffrey, who is now on IR. So he's got the starter role. So that's something that, again, you just want to kind of look to attack underpriced players. Now, there is the other side of that if he gets to be 50% owned, 60% owned, you want to leverage the field, right? You're like, I'm going to fade that chalk because now 50% of the lineups are going to be dead if he has a bad game. And maybe I go with, J.K. Dobbins, for example, who's similarly priced, or maybe I go with Charbonnet. There's that side of the coin too. But that said, the Shanahan system is produced to the running backs. Paul, we know this. Going all the way back to Mike Anderson, Alandis Gary days. Like I joked the other day for it was DFS Army VIPs that I did a podcast for, and I was like, dude, Tatum Bell, literally Mike Shanahan went and got him from the mall selling cell phones to be one of his ball carriers. So I'm with it. Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. He hurt you last week.
Yeah.
You thought you thought maybe you were gonna get past him, like up CMC out. No.
Yeah. And if you see here, he's one of the top fantasy points per dollar, plays almost 4 points, fantasy points per dollar. And that basically is your projection. It's a measure of like what your projection is based on your salary. So the higher the number, the better they are. So when you think about a Millie Maker winning build, you're trying to score like over 200 points. So like 250 is normally the target you're shooting for. So you need like every player to like hit an average of over 4x their salary, like almost 5x their salary. So when you got a guy that has a projection of basically 4x his salary, like that's really good, especially if they're cheap, because then you can put in the CeeDee Lambs, the Cooper Kupps, like all these studs, and you have a really good chance of having that type of ceiling to take down the Millie Maker. Paul, do we have any more cores for you?
No, I'd say that's about it. I'm liking James Conner.
Okay.
Workhorse back. Obviously, there was some talk, always worried about the guy getting injured, but he's healthy. He's getting a lot of work. He's getting passing down work. So that's another player I'd like to see as well.
Okay. I like it. All right. Well, let's go into some sleepers. What do you like for a sleeper this week? Now, these are guys that are going to be under 10% owned. So like for DFS Army subscribers, by the way, like you could sort by projected ownership, and you can go down the list and you could see guys that are going to be low owned. And by the way, if you never used an optimizer before, you like playing DFS, you watch shows like this, but you don't have exactly the tools at your disposal. Right now, they're doing a promo, $10 for your first week with code CRUNCH. I will put the link in the video description, but try it out. You get the domination station to build lineups. You get the Discord, the cheat sheet, all the tools for only $10 for 1 week. So it's a really good deal right now. But the sleepers are the guys that are going to be under 10% owned. So, Paul, do you have any sleepers that you like this week?
Yeah, I have one. I think he's flying kind of under the radar, and that's going to be Mike Gesicki with the Bengals. So we saw what the Ravens just did with their tight ends last week going against Kansas City. I like to see that again. He's about 1-5% owned, very low ownership. T. Higgins missing another week. So, yeah.
All right. I like it. Any other sleepers you got for me?
J.K. Dobbins. I don't know if that's really a sleeper. But he was another guy talked about a lot of injuries. Looks like he's taking over that backfield against the Chargers, and it's a great matchup.
Yes, I like that. I like that call as well. He looked really good last week, and typically, I think something I want to target is guys who have upside, and he has a lot of upside. Like the only reason why people are down on J.K. Dobbins is because he got hurt and he's had multiple injuries. He's just had a lot of injuries, but we know that when he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the game. So,
absolutely,
yeah, I like that call. For me, there's a couple of guys that stand out. Number one being Derrick Henry. He is favored at home. He has a 25-point team total. Looking at projections right now, he's projecting well. 15 points, but with him, it's the touchdown equity. And so he's projected for about 5% ownership. And when you have a team like Baltimore that's favored to win, that can score a lot of points, they have a 25-point team total going against a terrible Raiders team. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. So I love Derrick Henry at 5%. He's going to be one of my top sleepers of the week. The other guy, we talked about this game earlier. This is Tampa going on the road to play Detroit. 29-point team total from Detroit. Tampa, they're going to need to score to keep pace to win this game. And they're going against the worst secondary in the league based on last year's numbers. So this is a game I think could very much shoot out. Mike Evans, 6% ownership. Give me that all day. I like him in bringbacks with Jared Goff, or I just like him as a kind of a standalone play at that ownership.
Yeah, that's criminal, that ownership of Mike Evans. Every year we go into it, we say he's old. And then what does he do every year? Touchdowns, 1,000-yard seasons. Consistent.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be, he's Baker's go-to guy, his number one read, the deep target. So I love him at low ownership in this spot. Doesn't make sense to me, so I'm all about it. Now, the other side of that game, which I mentioned earlier, is Laporta. We got Laporta at 5%. This is a good matchup for him. He does project quite well. And I think it's just the emergence last week of Jamison Williams and, the two running backs. But we got Laporta with one of the best projections on the slate, the third best tight end projection, and he's at 5% ownership. So I definitely want me some Sam Laporta here. So, Paul, can you see this on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure we're still doing good here. So we have the top game stacks, and this is the next portion of the show that we're going to do. So we're going to do a dice roll, and we have a number next to each of these game stacks. So you're going to get 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we are going to do the dice roll. I'm going to start it out, and then whatever number I get, whichever one of these I land on first, is going to be the game that I'm going to stack and build around. So let's see. I got a number 2. So it looks like I'm going to be stacking Mahomes in all my lineups. So I'm just going to go over to the DS and lock him in. And Paul, let me do yours so you can get a start while I'm kind of talking through this. You ready?
All right, let's go.
All right. You got the top game on the slate. Okay. So don't be stealing my Mike Evans. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and run the domination station with Mahomes locked in, and kind of show you guys this. Basically, the way I would set this up is if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to run the domination station, but I loved Patrick Mahomes this week, which I'm going to because he's going to be my guy. I can kind of set a rule stack with no less than one player from the same team. I could set ownership caps. This is fully customizable, which is the thing that I love about it the most. Is you really have control over. In fact, we had a guy almost take down the FanDuel Millie Maker last week with he was 12th place, and that was one of the things he said was it's so customizable that like I could just run it over and over until I get what I want. And that's basically what he does each week to build his lineups. So I'm gonna do just kind of a quick run, show you essentially how you can build lineups. This is minimal settings, just put in a few things like ownership cap, 130%. Most Millie Maker winners, they have about 120 to 130%. So building 150 lineups here, I can limit the flex, tight end, running back, wide receiver. I could set a rule, stack with no less than one from the same team. And I put a love on Mahomes and just kind of seeing what it spits out over here for me. Paul, how are we coming along?
We are doing good.
Okay. Who are you? You're doing Goff, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Who are you building around?
I'm building around Goff, St. Brown. That's going to be my stack. I was still able to get Cooper Kupp in there.
Okay. So this is basically the type of lineup that I would build. Like you could see real quick here, I just ran 150 lineups. We got Patrick Mahomes. We got J.K. Dobbins, Stevenson. So Paul just talked about one of his sleepers. We got Cooper Kupp. We got Robinson. We got Breece Hall. We got Travis Kelce. So we got the Mahomes to Kelce stack. I like that. That's the first one. Second one here as well. It's not giving me a lot of Jordan Mason, which is kind of surprising. So I did get about 35% Jordan Mason. I'm just curious to see if he pops into any of these top lineups. Very interesting. So, and that's one of the things that is great about this being so customizable is so like say right there, I didn't get Jordan Mason. I could put an Adore on him. Let's just put a love on Kyron, and let's run this again and see kind of what it spits out for me. Paul, do you have your lineup finished?
Yep.
All right. Let me know. Lay it on me. What do you got?
So this is where I'm going. Jared Goff. That's going to be the stack. J.K. Dobbins, okay. Mason. I did end up getting Mason in there. St. Brown. Then going with Lazard, Cooper Kupp, putting Mike Gesicki in at tight end. Very low cost play on that one. Breece Hall. And then I had to go with the Chargers D. It's a very, very favorable matchup, I think. Like I said at the beginning, going against whoever's going against the Panthers is just a smart play.
The Chargers D, yeah. I think that was a great call, especially you got a good coach team, Harbaugh. You have Chargers D with a low, or the Panthers team with the low team total, and just a quarterback who routinely misses wide open wide receivers. So I like that play.
Yeah, routinely hits the other team's wide or corners.
Yeah. So let's take a look here, see what it gave me. So I like this one, for example, Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce stack. This got Jordan Mason. This got J.K. Dobbins. So this is what I'm talking about when you have cores. Two of my cores, Jordan Mason, Cooper Kupp. These guys are projected as high owned, but yet you got different with J.K. Dobbins, right? And DK Metcalf and Allen Lazard. So that's kind of what you're looking for to take down a large field GPP like the Millie Maker. You need some good plays, some guys that were really good plays, and then a couple like one-off parlays to hit that could be in good spots. Like you mentioned, J.K. Dobbins going against a terrible Panthers team. DK Metcalf, who I think's in for a big year, got Patrick Surtain last week. Not going to have him this week. And then Alan Lazard, who Aaron Rodgers loves to target. He brought his boy over from Green Bay. So I definitely think that is a way that I would play it. That lineup right there. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much going to do it this week. Paul, any final thoughts?
No, I'm ready. It's week 2. Let's go. Glad football's back.
Well, make sure you put that lineup in the Millie Maker. We gotta keep the the structure of the show. You gotta play it. You can't not play it, Paul.
Let's do it. I'll lock it in right now.
All right. Well, if Paul wins the Millie next week, I don't expect him to be back. So that'll be the end of the show. Good, so. All right, man. Well, best of luck. And like I said, if you guys want access to DFS Army tools, 1 week, $10 only. Use code CRUNCH. I will put the code and the link in the video description. Win some money this week. We'll see y'all next time.